All right, welcome everybody. Today's video, we are going to check out a World Heritage Site. We are over here at Kamphaeng Phet, which is like a literal translation of the Diamond Fortress. This was a frontier town, and it was set up to protect the Sukhothai Kingdom, and then later on the Ayutthaya Kingdom from invaders from the north. They had kind of basically an impenetrable wall. They've spent a lot of time and effort into making this into a fortified area. And it's sitting right next to the Ping River. And anyway, we're gonna go and we're gonna check out the northern part of the temple complex. And as you can see behind me, I'm sitting right here in front of just kind of a throwaway temple. This is another one of these 14th to 15th century temples. This is Wat Pa Mueang Nok or something like that. It'll be like something to do with the temple of like the bird. And anyway, there's 60 ruins inside of this north complex. We're not going to look at them all. I'm going to show you about 5 of them. Now, to get in here, it's 100 baht for a foreigner, and then if you bring in a car, it's 20 baht. So anyway, you can buy 2 areas. You can buy the north and the south area, and that's 150 baht. So let's go look around, and I'm going to show you some of these cool ruins, and we'll see what we see. And here is this little ruin that I was just standing in front of. It's made out of the same stones that you'll see. And this is the way you come into the northern part. And it's surrounded, it's kind of rural feeling. There's a lot of trees. And then you can go in here. Here is the gate over here to come in. Now you can come in here actually for free. If you come at 6 o'clock in the morning, they'll have these gates open, and it's for people to come and exercise. And they close the gate at 9 a.m. And then they open it again for free at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you can go and exercise until 7. And I've actually been in here during that time, and you could just go and walk around. But it's starting to get a little dark, and it's not as good. So we're gonna go and we're gonna look at it today. And so here's my ride. Now when you come in here, it's a good idea to have a car, motorcycle, or a bicycle, because this is just massive. It just spreads all out here. So here is one of the ruins, and then I'll show you the map of it. So the part we're going to look at today is this up here. This is the north part that has Wat Sing, Wat Cheng Lop, and a couple of the others. And then down here is the southern part that has the museum and the city, like the city pillar and stuff like that. And it talks about that this is on the east bank of the Ping River, and the north wall up here on the top was 2,409 meters long, and it was 540 meters long in the east, 2,150 meters long in the south, and 200 meters long in the west. So it is just absolutely massive, and then it had a moat and everything else around it. All right, so we're going to start out inside here looking at one of these that I think is like one of the coolest buildings I've seen at any of these ruins. This is the ancient monument of Wat Pra Si Iraya Boat, I believe. Now, this used to have a chetty that was right there in the middle, and then it would have had 4 porches. So there would have been a porch coming off of it here, and there would have been coming off in the 4 cardinal directions. Now, this one right here is the best one. This is the standing. So you have 4 different ones. This is dispelling fear. So you have a standing, seated, and then you have another standing on the other side, and then you have a reclining Buddha over here. So this would have been fantastic. I can't even imagine how cool this would have looked. And I've never seen like a building like this with the 4 Buddha images and then the 4 porches coming off of it. I've seen some central prongs that will have like a porch coming off of it like in 3 directions. But this one would have been fantastic. So this would have been a seated Buddha here, and you can see all that's left is the legs. This one, the standing Buddha that we first saw, is in the best condition. Then over here would have been like a walking, so standing or walking Buddha, and you can see that the legs are, you know, gone at the knees. His arms are still up there, and you can see how this would have been shaped kind of like a C, and then they would have had the porch built off over here. And then they have notches down on the bottom, so they'd have probably had like little Buddha images and stuff down there. Same for here on these columns. And this would have been just absolutely amazing. And then it has some of these little chetties here that would have been around on the 4 cardinal directions also, and then some other chetties. The bases are there. So this is on the east side here, and then we'll look over here. This will be the reclining Buddha, and it's in like the worst shape out of all. So there would have been the porch here, same as the other, and then here is the reclining Buddha. So that would have been his legs down there, and you would have seen up here. So right here would have been his head, and it's just basically just the outline now. And then some more of this little porch. Yeah, I wanted to see this one. This one is just really cool, and we'll go see probably like 5 temples in here. And then up here at this temple, there's like here's a big, huge hall that they would have had, and would have had like a outside rail, and there was quite a few buildings here to it. And here's the hall just to the east of that little prong with the 4 images. You can see they have the columns here would have had a roof, and it's all these laterite stones. They quarried them right up here. There's actually the quarry right over here, so they were able to, you know, get them locally. Would have made it a lot easier to build all of this stuff. And then it would have had an outer wall, and then there's just temples and stuff that are scattered out all amongst these trees, just on this whole hilltop here. And then here they would have had a seated Buddha. You can see that's his knee right over there. That's all that's left. And then the support columns and all of that. And then you could see they would have had the top of that chetty would have had plaster on it also. And then they would have had an outer, like an outer wall right here. And this would have been where the monks would have sat. And I really like how they did like the little balcony here on these. This has all been redone. This would have all just been completely collapsed. All right, let's go look at this other temple over here that by the gate when we first come in. That's pretty interesting. So they have all these like wells, and then they have like toilets and stuff that they've dug out here also. And they're outside of the temple walls. So they'll have like a pond that they'll have dug to have water storage, and then they'll have these toilets or latrines, whatever, that they would have dug outside here. And they don't know if those were used for like the locals that would have came to, you know, pray at the temple. They would have cleaned themselves and everything before they came to the temple, or if it was for the monks that were in residence, or a combination of both. They just have to kind of speculate about that. Okay, so over here, this is the temple Wat Pra Non, which the translation of it, I guess, is like the sleeping Buddha. And it has a really nice chetty in the middle. So let's look around it really quick. Okay, so this building to the east of the chetty would have been an ordination hall. And they've restored a little bit of it. So they've put these columns back together, and they made them into an octagon, which would have been the Ayutthaya styling, because this was still used under the Ayutthaya kingdom. And this would have been where the Buddha was at. And then back there is some more buildings. Now there's also buildings kind of scattered all around in the trees that were the monk quarters. And they have the wells and everything else also that were dug all out in here. This one's quite a nice ruin here. This building up here is really, really nice. I like this with the slits. So they have like the breezeway for these buildings. And you can see that just all of these are the stones. Now at this Kamphaeng Phet, there are just dogs everywhere, barking at you, doing all the things. So hopefully they're not too mean. Yeah, this hall here would have been massive. So these are square columns. And then they would have had an image up here, it looks like. This would have been a pedestal. So not sure if this would have been a reclining Buddha or what would have been right here. Because this is named the Sleeping Buddha Temple, Wat Pra Non. But so far I haven't came across any traces of the Sleeping Buddha. And then some more of these. Yeah, these are huge columns. And then over here is the central chetty. And then they would have had a bunch of other little chetties all around. And then there's the perimeter wall of the temple out there. And then another temple next to it. Yeah, I don't know what the population was of this area when it was at its peak. I mean, with the amount of ruins, there had to have been a pretty sizable population here. Yeah, and here is the chetty. So this would have been a bell-shaped chetty, which would have been kind of the Sri Lankan style. And then it would have had a nice little walkway right here. So this would have had the steps going up to the chetty. Yeah, that's really nice. So you can see the base of it and then up to the top. So this would have been a Sukhothai style. Now King Chulalongkorn Rama V visited this temple and he praised the chetty here for its beauty. Even though the top part is collapsed, it still would have been a sight to see out here back whenever it was new. And here they would have had a shrine, and then over there would have been like a little wee hand. Not much left of it, just some of the small little support columns out here. And then a little bit of the wall. A little look here at this building. Yeah, the base of the Buddha is just all that's left, and a little bit of the robe you can see. All right, let's walk up, and we'll walk all the way up there and look at the third temple I want to look at here down by the park entrance. All right, so we're here at Wat Sing now. So there would have been like what they call the Sala, which would have been like a little resting point right there. And it was made out of these same stones. And then here is the outer gate of this temple. So this right here is an obosot, or an ordination hall, that used to be at one point was a wehan, and they converted it into this. This is on the east side of the chetty, and you can see it had some of the standing little figures. They've completely weathered away. You can see what they look like now. So they would have had the plaster on the outside of them. Now this is called Wat Sing because this hall right here used to have little lion decorations on the outside of it. You can see the little stones. But now those are all completely gone. All that's left are these big, huge stones. So here would have been the place for the monks. And then they have a pretty nice seated Buddha. But you can see how it's constructed. This is actually pretty neat to see. So you can see how they made it out of the brick. And you know, they got the grout in between all the bricks. And then they covered it on top of it. Yeah, that's really nice. And they would have had other little images and stuff all around it. And then in the center would have been a little prong. And this is pretty nice. It has the lotus-shaped windows over it. And it would have had 4 Buddha images in it in the 4 cardinal directions. And then here's another wall, and it would have had little chetties. And then here would have been the altar to make the blessings. And then you can see right here, there's a seated Buddha right in that little room on this side. And then on the south side, it's completely deteriorated off. And here's some of the bases of those small little chetties. And then over here on the west side, the same, where it's completely missing. And then it would have had a walkway that would have went right up there. And then over here is the wehan. And there would have been monk quarters out here also, but it doesn't look like there's much remaining of them. And then over here is on the north side. So there's a little tiny bit of it left, but not like on the east. They probably restored it the best on the east because that's where most people come in from. You can see another one of the seated Buddhas. So this would have been covered at one point. And I don't know what would have been on the top, if that would have went up to like a spire or what. Yeah, this is a pretty nice park. It's not as in a good shape as if you went to Sukhothai or Si Satchanalai. These are kind of all tied together, these 3 parks. They're all 3 World Heritage Sites, and they're kind of what they say out of like the Sukhothai kingdom, kind of the main 3 cities. And this is great because you can get out, you can just walk around, climb up on them. You can spend as much time or as little time as you want here. Like I said, there's 60 ruins in this area right here, just inside of this main wall that's like 2.5 kilometers by probably like half a kilometer or so. So it's a massive area, and they're just all scattered around. You need a bicycle or a motorcycle or car to kind of get around in here. Now we're gonna go up onto the hill and we're gonna see kind of the coolest one here. I don't know, that first one is really awesome to me with the 4 images, but we'll go see all of the elephants now. So all out in these trees, there's little small temples, and they have all these little roads that kind of crisscross this whole park. So you can go down there and see some of the smaller ruins. You'd be the only one out there. Like right here, here's another little road that goes down and shows you a whole bunch of the smaller ones. And they're in various states of repair or whatever. Now right up here, this is our destination here. This is right up on the hill. So this is the one with all the elephants. So this is at the highest point here in the park, and they built a big, huge chetty. Now right over there was a small little ordination hall, and then they actually dug a pond here. This would have been a pond for some water storage. And then they have another little hall that was right here next to that little pond. But our main objective is to see this chetty. And this is what Chang rope, I believe. Chang is the elephants. Now there will be 68 elephants around the base. And they're coming out of the wall, and that's to symbolize these elephants carrying the world. And it was 31 meters across here. So each one of these walls is 31 meters long, and it's just a little square base. And then it's pretty cool. It has those little like pointed little roofs when you come in the doors. And then this would have been the little chapel, the little Weehan. It's pretty good size. It's just down to the base. There's not a whole lot left there. A little bit of the columns that was around where the Buddha image was supposed to be. And then there would have been chetties on the 4 corners and also chetties up on the top. So let's climb up here and let's see this. So this is a nice look at it. So it had lion guardians right here when you would have climbed up, and then there would have been like a figure behind it. And then you can see the elephants. I've seen a bunch of chetties like this, and I really enjoy seeing these with the elephants. There's one of these over at Si Satchanalai that the elephants are in a little better shape, but these are absolutely fantastic. You can see they have like the Bodhi tree or something like that as decorated in between, and you can see the work that is still intact on these. You have the eyes and everything. And these stones, like the stairs, are quite narrow. So it's a narrow little hike. So if you're a little afraid of heights or have some issues with mobility, you're not going to be able to get up here. Because there you can see here that they are just basically wider than your foot. That's not much more than that. So let's climb up and let's see up top there. Take a look at that elephant right there. That's really cool. The only thing missing is its tusk and his trunk. Yeah, that's nice. So here is the entrance. Has that little chetty on the top, and you can see how they built it. It's not an arch, but they stacked those bricks and then they cut that at an angle. That's pretty interesting. And then it had a wall up here, and there would have been a chetty on the 4 corners, and then the main chetty here. So there's not a whole lot left. You can see a little bit of the plaster work. You can see how it was constructed with these same bricks. And this would have been really, really thick, the plaster here. It would have been all decorated and painted. And then you can see it's up here on this high point. So this would have gave you a nice view of the whole city. So there would have been temples, everything. This would have been just absolutely amazing to see. All the houses, all the temples. Now the houses were all made out of wood, so you know the termites and the jungle took care of them. But the temples you can still see, the ones that are, you know, with brick. You know, if the monk quarters were made out of wood, they're also gone, same as the houses. And then you have another little hall over there. And then there would have been probably like a Buddha relic or something like that inside of this. Now you can't climb up on here. You can just look at this one from here. And there's not a whole lot more to see other than this. It's just kind of a little flat base here around. But it's kind of interesting. More of the elephants. Just give you an idea of how steep the stairs are. It's almost a straight drop. And then they had all the other chetties all around. And the amount of work that these guys did is just unbelievable. So the quarrying these stones, I believe what they did was they would take the stone and they would cut a little notch in it, then they would drive a wedge and they could actually break the stone, and then they could haul it into the sections, and then they could trim it down to the piece that they needed. And it looks like this was all stone also. Now it's just kind of dirt, but this would have been that stone that you could have walked around on up here. All right, let's go to the last temple we're going to look at inside this North Park today. See more of this complex. More of the little small temples are out there. This whole area is just dotted with them. And it's hard to say if these mounds are also like an old temple that they just never excavated, like right here. Just give an idea. Just tons of these little temples like this. Wat Rim Tang. And just more stuff all out there. All right, so right over here, this is our last temple that we're going to look at today. Right over here, this is the park office, the bathrooms, the information center. And they have a little hall there for any conferences or displays or whatever. Now they actually have these electronic little carts. So if you have like a disability or whatever, you can't get around, they will shuttle you around the park in one of those. So this is Wat Avasa Yai, or Awasa Tai, or Yai. It's like the big something, I'm not sure what it means. But I think this is the biggest temple here in this northern complex. It had a central chetty that's kind of collapsed down, and a bunch of these smaller ones. So there's the same thing that you see all these. They have this hall here to the east, and then they had a little boundary wall here. They would have had another hall over there. Some monk quarters would have been scattered out here, and all of these would have been bases of chetties. Just massive. And then over here would have been another water storage. They have the rails up for the pond. So this is what's left of the well. So they would have had a canal system or some kind of water transfer system that they would have had here to keep these filled, that would have came in off of the Ping River. They would have also used it to irrigate their crops, all of that. You can see these chetties. These trees just growing up here amongst them. Hear the cicadas buzzing. They're so loud. So this in here has the same little rail around the outside of this, and then this would have been that, probably the pointed entrance gate. You can see a little bit of the plaster is still remaining. And then it would have had a chetty there that's just down in the ruins. And they've had this here, so this would have had kind of a little balcony coming off this house, front of this temple. And there would have been a seated Buddha right there. And that tree is taken over where the chetty was at. Yeah, this is just sprawling. You can see all those buildings out there. And then the support columns. And then it had all these buildings out over there. Now they said they really are not sure where the temple wall was at. So I think some of those that are sticking up are just kind of a best guess. And that building over there would have been, look at the size of that base, it would have been substantial. And then here would have been the main Buddha in this little hall. I think this was a Wehan over here. And then this would have been the central chetty. So it would have had a door coming out of the back. They would have had probably a standing Buddha right here. This would have been the back wall. and then this chetty. Now they're not exactly sure the styling of this. They say that there was a picture taken by King Rama V when he came here that gives it a trace that it would have had the bell-shaped top. But it was already in disrepair whenever he came in the late 1800s, early 1900s, whenever he came to this park. This is a nice look. So you have this hall here, and then it would have had the chetty right here in the middle, and then the balance part of it would have been this hall. Yeah, this would have been really, really nice. And then all the other stuff that's scattered out amongst the trees. Let's look at this hall, and this will be the last thing we look at here. So you can see they would have had those columns there to support the roof. And then this would have been part of the entry gate. You would have came down these steps after doing your merit or whatever here, and then would have went to that chetty. Yeah, and this is just massive. Another one of the big wells. You can see that they coated the inside of those bricks, probably to keep from losing all the water out. And then just so many little outbuildings all through the trees. All right, guys, that's going to finish up our walk around here at Kamphaeng Phet, the north part of the old city. This is really nice. It's a good way to come and spend half a day walking around here. Now, I would recommend coming here early in the morning before it gets too hot. I mean, this is mid-March right now, and it's just about lunchtime, and it is scorching hot. So get here early in the morning. You get the place kind of to yourself. You get around inside of here is a little tougher. You need to either have a car, motorcycle, or like a bicycle. You can rent a bicycle for like 50 baht a day or something like that if you come up here, and you can pedal all around and take some pictures and enjoy the day. So anyway, I've enjoyed this. It's a good time, and it's a World Heritage Site. It was declared a World Heritage Site in, I believe, like 1991, something like that, and it's definitely worth it. The amount of work that they put into, Kamphaeng Phet is just incredible. So I was lucky enough to come over here and enjoy this today. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you click like and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. This is what I do. I just go around and show you things that I see and tell you a little bit about what I know. And if you like this kind of stuff, if it gives you some ideas of things to see or do in Thailand, then great. Stick around, subscribe, and then you're notified when I post a new video. And leave me a comment if you have any questions, or if you've been here, definitely tell me what you thought. Tell me what you think about it in comparison to Si Satchanalai or Sukhothai, because they're kind of all the same era, 13th, 14th, 15th century, something like that. So anyway, until next time from over here and Kamphaeng Phet, remember guys, life is a journey. Until next time, enjoy.